Okay, just a quick little video on the KTM 390 Adventure. It's a bike that I've had since 2020. It's got 7,500 miles on it. It's been on the fleet for people to ride down in North Devon. And this is just some footage from a weekend in Wales. I've got a few tours this year, Iceland and Stella Alpina. And I'd offer this weekend as an opportunity for people to get together and do a bit of training at Sweet Lamb Adventure Academy. Unfortunately, Sweet Lamb cancelled due to weather damage to their buildings, so we just had a weekend there anyway and just did a few trails. So I took the KTM 390 up in the van, which I know is cheated, but I got a chance to use it in a sort of a trail environment in mid Wales. The 390 it's been a funny old bike, really. I've said it quite a few times that it was not the bike that we expected. I think KTM were known for making some quite gregarious, cutting edge trail adventure bikes. You know, the 640s, the 990s, 950s, 1190s. These sort of real proper off-road weapons. And then when the 390 came out, it was quickly quite apparent that it was a 390 Duke with a bit of tweaks to make it more adventurous, but certainly not trail friendly. Case in point, the canted, the sort of slanted forward foot pegs, which made it difficult to stand up, and the low bars. So I think there was a bit of disappointment in the early days of it. Same with me, you know, I felt the same. I thought it seemed like a bit of a half-hearted attempt at making an adventure bike, but I think context is crucial for the KTM 390. Actually, the Adventure. If you take it, if you think it's a trail bike and you put it in a taxing trail environment, I think it will be bettered by other bikes in the class. Even the 310 GS, I think, is a better trail bike because it's got a more natural stance to it, and it's not got that annoying traction control which you have to disable every time you kill the engine or stall it or put the side stand down. So there's reasons why I would choose a 310 GS over a 390. Yes, it's not got the sophistication of the suspension or the power, but in terms of day-to-day manageability on trails, the 310 and the Himalayan and the CRF are all better bikes than the 390. So seeing it as an out-and-out trail bike, I think, is always going to doom it to failure. I think what the Welsh weekend highlighted was that the KTM's strength is just a phenomenally engaging, fast, agile, sure-footed back road bike, fast flowing A, B road bike. The suspension, the WP Apex suspension, is in another league over the suspension on the other bikes in this category of adventure machines. It'll be interesting to see if the new Himalayan with a shower suspension handles as well as the KTM, but I doubt it will, because the way that bike, the KTM, corners, handles, and carries pace is quite exciting. Really, it really does fly along those back roads. Great brakes, great gearbox, great power. You know, it's just a really exciting, engaging bike, leagues ahead of anything else in this range. Also on the trails, so in Wales, there's lots of shale, quite grippy, quite well draining, long stretches, and I think that sort of terrain also suits the KTM 390 Adventure really well as well. You know, it's not overly taxing, it's not overly technical, it's more third, fourth gear lanes rather than first, second, and I think that really allows the 390 to be opened up, wound out, to make use of that good suspension. Yes, that traction control is incredibly annoying. Every time you want to set off, you've got to disengage it, because the issue with it is it's such a poor system that when you're going up any sort of incline or even on the flat, if it detects any element of slippage, which you're going to get on shale or gravel, it cuts power to the back wheel. So you can't actually get the bike up even the most gentlest slopes, or you have to really nurse it and soft throttle it, because the traction control is just cutting the engine power all the time. So it's a really crude system. And then obviously to disable it, you've got to hold the button down for 5 seconds, and then every time you put the side stand down or kill the engine, you've got to do it again and again, and every time you stall it. So for the novice rider on more technical stuff where you are going to be stalling it more frequently, I think it'd really drive you mad. But in Wales, on this kind of terrain, it was a brilliant bike to ride on the tarmac, and a very good bike to ride off the tarmac as well on these kind of trails. I think you've got to note that the engine is not a chuggy, low-down, grunty engine. It needs to be on power. It needs an open throttle. It needs a progressive rider. I think if you're a dawdler or a timid rider, this engine is not for you. I found it's stalled out a few times when I was just pottering about behind some of the other riders at, say, 2,000 RPM in second. It just flame out and stall because it needs to be on throttle. You need to be working the engine. So I don't think it's a very novice friendly engine. I think novice riders will be better on a CRF, a Vogue, even a GS310, Definitely a Himalayan or something like that, because the 390 needs a conviction with the throttle. It doesn't need to be sort of soft and indecisive about it. Otherwise, it'll stall out. It's luggy. It needs a lot of gear changing. You've got to be riding it with a bit of aggression to get the best out of it. So, I came away really excited actually being on that 390. It's a cracking bike, one that we have obviously overlooked in many cases because it's not a proper adventure bike. You know, it's not got that travel trail edge that other bikes have got, but if you were riding from North Devon to Wales to do some trails, it's the best bike in this class. It will sit on the motorway at 75, 80, and then when you get there, you're going to have a lot of fun on the trails as well. So it's actually a pretty good touring trail bike because it is comfortable. I find it comfortable at speed. The screen does a reasonably good job, and it will carry luggage. I mean, Bob was there on this weekend. Bob's 70, I think, and he's got a 390 KTM. He took it around Spain and down to the Stella Alpina. And you can see why, because it's great fun in the corners. It's great fun on the tarmac to get anywhere. And then as long as you're not doing anything too technical, it's really good fun off-road as well. So, I certainly think it's a bike not worth overlooking, although we often do. And I think the price point that they pushed it up to, sort of 6-7, which makes it £1,000 more than the Himalayan 452 and £1,000 more than the Triumph Scrambler, I think sometimes makes it seem very expensive, which it is, but it does reward, and that suspension does seem to justify the additional fee. I mean, compared to that Triumph, actually, it blows that Triumph out of the water in every way, shape, and form. The Triumph's got a chuggier, better low-down, gruntier engine, but that runs out of puff and it lacks excitement high up. And then from a suspension point of view, the Triumph wouldn't see which way the KTM rider went, just because it can't, the chassis and suspension can't harness the power in the same way that the KTM can. So, you know, whereas the KTM dances down the back roads and the A roads, the KTM, the Triumph sort of lumbers and washes and stands up, and it's just not set up right for this kind of riding, whereas the KTM is. So, yeah, real thumbs up to the KTM this weekend. Really enjoyed it. 7,500 miles on the bike, no problems. It's just a chain and sprocket. It's just a tyre. So consumables seem to last pretty well on it. And it's had a hard life. It's been ridden by lots of different people in lots of different ways. But it's still holding up. So yeah, if you're after an exciting little adventure bike, KTM 390 Adventure. Cheers.